Hi, thank you for joining me for day 4 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life, round 11. And today's sketch, you can see in the top right hand corner of the screen, is by Janet Fritz, Galaxy Girl Creations on YouTube. And I love this sketch. It's not something I would normally do, and it had me thinking for a little while, but I decided to pull out my Fernwood and 3 photos of my children at the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum back in 2013. You will have seen plenty of photos from this trip if you've been watching my videos for a while. And I've torn the triangle that Janet has in the sketch on the left hand side from this green paper, and then the second triangle at the top I'm actually going to do mixed media for. So first of all, I'm coming in with my shimmers in it's the peach one, Here I Am, and just using the packaging technique to smear that over in a rough triangle shape right the way across the top to fill in that gap. And you can see I didn't realise that it does go right the way to the left hand corner. So just spreading everything out, using some more water to get this colour spread right the way across. And the reason I've gone for this Here I Am is because it goes quite nicely with the t-shirt that James is wearing. So I'm just wanting to bring some of those corally peachy colours in to the layout. So once this section is dry, I am going to stamp over the top as well with a script stamp, just to create a little bit of interest. So just making sure that I'm happy with the way that the mixed media is spreading across that page. And now I'm going to add a second layer to this triangle, and I wanted to bring in some navy. So just tearing this across the same way as I've torn the green, and then I shall cut off the excess off the back because I don't want to waste it. But I just like how that adds a little bit extra to that triangle that we've got going down that side. So here I am with my stamp. As I mentioned, this is a darkroom door script stamp, and I've used this in a previous layer. I think I used it with this colour actually, funnily enough, but layering over the tea dye Distress Oxide onto this Here I Am looks really nice. So that's just what I'm doing. And if you look closely, you can see that the first stamp I did was upside down. It did annoy me a little bit, but not enough to do anything about it, so it's fine. So just making sure that that whole area is covered with the stamped image, and then coming back in with my triangle. And once I've done that, I can start working on embellishing around the photos. So I'm just going to stick down the green onto the blue paper, and then I can trim off the excess. And I know I'm bad at telling you the size of photos. So the photos that I'm using, they were 4x6 photos, but I've trimmed them down to 3x4. So it's 3x4 photos that I'm using, and I've just mounted those off screen onto some white cardstock just to save a bit of time, because this layout took a little bit of time to create. It wasn't in my comfort zone, I wouldn't say, the sketch, but I really loved what I created with it. And that's why I love this series, because sometimes you look at a sketch and think, oh gosh, what on earth am I going to do with that? But once you've had a think, you can normally come up with something that's still in your style, so still created with integrity, so what you would normally put into your albums. Yeah, it's been fun, and I really do enjoy the challenge. I think you can get stuck in a rut sometimes, so this is definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone doing these sketches. So I'm just going to create a photo mat behind these 3 photos using this blackened off-white stripe. I love this paper. It was a shame to cut into it, but cut into it I must. I tried to just use what I like the look of rather than thinking, could I use it for something else? Because there's always more paper, and sometimes we hang on to things and then never end up using them. So use it while you've got the opportunity, I'd say. So just looking at this peach to see if I can bring this in somewhere, and I just add a tiny little strip that peeks out the right hand side of the bottom of these photos, and it's just bringing that peachy pink in that I've used in the mixed media as well. So gluing the photos down, and they're just going flat down onto the paper today. There's no bumpy mixed media to worry about, so I decided just to create this as a fairly flat layout. Of course, it's still got some dimension because this is me, but it's not as dimensional as some of them have been. So I distressed the edges of that paper with my Tim Holtz Distress tool, and now I'm doing the same with that peach piece, and just, as I say, just sticking it down on the bottom right hand side just to bring a little bit of that colour down to the bottom of the layout. So now going through the Fernwood sticker book to see what I can find in here. Just adding a few bits and pieces, as you can see, around the page. And this flag says stay curious, and I decided to put it at the bottom of that top photo. And I will just add a little bit of foam to keep it in position. I love these labels. If you've watched me before, you know I do like a label to add layers around my photo mats. So coming in with the Sticks 2 foam pads to raise this up ever so slightly, because we've got that the torn and curled edges of the triangle. I just thought that the foam would make it adhere better to the background. So there is dimension, like I say, but I haven't added it to the photos this time. It's actually on the photo mat. And now that mat's been raised up, I have to be careful what I do to embellish, because anything that I add on top of the photos will have to be raised up onto foam as well. So just where Janet's got the circles and stars, that's where I'm going to be adding my layers of embellishments. So I'm just using I think it's my 2" or 2 1/4" punch there to punch out some circles from one of the 6x8 papers in the 6x8 paper pad. And then just roughing those up with my fingernails, because I was too lazy to reach for the tool, which is right next to the punch there. Can you see on my desk? Honestly, I wonder what goes through my head sometimes. I think I just get lost in the moment and don't want to stop. And stopping just to reach for a tool is enough for me to think, no, got to keep going. So now, just to add a bit of definition to these circles, I'm going to doodle around the edges as well with a black ink pen. Same on this one, and I have kept that offcut, and that will be added to the right hand cluster where Janet's got the circle at the bottom of the right hand side of the page. So just gluing everything down before I forget. And then back to these stickers again. This sticker book's amazing, there's so much in it. So I find this one that says smile big, because James has got a lovely little smile in that middle photo, and then really excited, which describes them both. They were so excited to see these donkeys. That Flair badge that I put there is from the print shop collection, but just works really nicely with these colours, so that's been added. That's a Hey Little Magpie Flair badge. And then the yellow tickets are from the 49er Market Vintage Ticket Essentials. I love these, and I'm becoming a bit more bold in using them in full strips rather than just tearing 1 or 2 tickets off and dotting them around the page. And I love how this strip brings in that yellow that I've got on the circles as well. So again, just distressing the edges of that so that everything's looking nice and neat and the same. And then sticking that Flair badge down. And also that, I think that was the strip that says photographs. I can't quite see on my phone screen. So now this is just a piece out of my box of Fernwood, and it's one of the branding strips, and I thought that would be a nice little shelf, if you like, to add to the bottom of the photos. So that goes down there. And then I'm adding on the right hand side the green and blue that I used on the triangles to create those 2 strips that are in the sketch, and it provides great balance having these 2 there. So just adding a little bit more mixed media, again bringing in that Here I Am shimmers, and just lightly placing it down underneath where those 2 strips are going to go. And as per usual with mixed media, at first I don't bring it out quite far enough, so if I put the strips down on there it would just cover the mixed media up, so I have to expand it a little bit, but just adding some splatters as well. Checking, and this is where I realised that it really does need to come out a little bit more. So now that's dry, I can stick these 2 strips down. So first of all sticking the green, and then I can tuck the blue one underneath and nestle that in place. So the green is a straight cut and it's just been distressed along the edge, and then the blue is the other side of the torn edge from that piece that I created the triangle with. So I've not had to tear it again, I just trimmed off the torn edge and then positioned it where I wanted it. You can see it's still on the diagonal at the top where that cut is. So I've just taken that off the page and I shall snip that off in a bit. So now creating this bottom embellishment that Janet has in her sketch, adding those pen lines, and like I say, that's the trimmed off piece from that circle that's at the top right. So I wanted to bring in some tangled thread again, so just tucking some of that into the bottom left hand cluster, and then just for balance I shall add some to the top right hand cluster on that group of 3 photos. And I chose the blue to bring in a little bit more of that blue that I've got in the strips that I added underneath the green triangle and to the right of the photo, and my title will also be in blue, just to bring that in a little bit more. I do wonder if I was influenced by the colours that Janet's used in her sketch, because they're all blue, aren't they? But who knows where influences come from. So just adding a dab of glue underneath that to keep that in place, and I decide I want to add a third piece up at the top left hand side here. So just using the pin from my glue bottle just to nudge that in so that it's in place, and you can barely see it, but it just adds something again. So now coming in with these JD3DPrint wood chevrons, I absolutely adore those, and they look really nice on this layout of the outdoors. And a little bulldog clip from the sticker sheets, and this lovely circle just to add to the circles in this little cluster here, and a tiny little yellow and gold star at the bottom there. And then I see this strip which I really like, and it just says "These Beautiful Moments." I decide to add that to the bottom underneath that branding strip. And I just cut off the bit, well, I tear off the bit that's left over and pop that underneath those wood veneer chevrons, or MDF chevrons they are. And some more labels. This one says "Documented." That nestles nicely under the pink one that says "Happiness." And then this pink piece that I've added here, I shall add the date onto. So just adding my title now, using these beautiful Florence stickers from Bella Besties. I'm hoping to get these into Hey Little Magpie, I love them. So gluing down the wood chevrons. So while I'm doing that, please do remember to check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in this hop. Christie's created a playlist, so you can just go onto that playlist and see everybody's creations. Every day we're uploading to that playlist, so there are more and more videos added every day. So just adding the journaling here that says "Saying hello to the donkeys at the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum, so gentle and friendly." And then going through the chipboard to see if there's anything else I can see. I like the live documented sticker, so that gets added to the underneath those chevrons there. And then I've added the date to that label, but I felt that it was very blank in front of it, so I just added the day Saturday in my handwriting, and I do like how that turned out. And that's it for today's sketch. Thank you so much, Janet, for such a wonderful sketch, and thank you all so much for joining me, and I shall see you tomorrow for day 5. Thanks again. Bye.